105 North Island 52.
Prepare to be fucked by the object of the law.
This isn't happening. Everyone look away, please. Nothing to see here.
You can't break those cuffs.
Make him away, Toy.
Welcome to Thought Cops, the only podcast where every week we talk about what's outraging the internet, and then we let you be the judge, we let you be the jury, we let you be the executioner, too, in the court of public opinion. I'm Officer Kevin, and with me is Officer Grant.
Hey,
What's up? Hey, you know, in the Discord, some people have been debating who is the better introducer to the show.
oh man.
I know you got your you denied doing it for quite some time, and then episode 101 you came back strong, and some fans think that you do it better than me.
Well, my life's been falling apart, so I've been having a little more fire in my belly coming into some of
Sometimes
these
you
shows.
really need that, yeah.
Especially when you're talking about negative bullshit all the time, every week for 100 weeks.
So yeah, I guess I'm doing it today, and if Grant decides that one day he's got some fire in his belly,
Maybe I'll do the bonus episodes.
okay,
Yeah.
it's a fair trade-off. Thank
Which
you.
is if you want to hear me do some introductions, go to patreon.com/thoughtcops, pay us $2 a month, and you can hear me do the intro as much as you want.
There you go. And let's thank our guest from last week, Tony from Hack the Movies. Thank you, Tony, for coming on the show and giving us your own unique brand of wisdom. And this week we got a brand new guest. This week we got New York City comedian Jake Flores. What's up, man?
Hello, Thought Cops. Good to be here.
Now you are currently on tour right now, so we appreciate you taking the time to do our show. You're currently in Phoenix, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out in the desert.
Nice, nice. So, Jake, you may have heard Jake on either Cumtown or Chapo Trap House, or even his own podcast, Pod Damn America.
Probably in that order of popularity, I believe.
So, I listened to your podcast. You were pitching it on Twitter in a way that really intrigued me. Was you're kind of coming at it from, I guess, the layman's perspective, where you do a podcast with people who are maybe more involved with the political world, and you're just, there's so much to keep up with these days, and just in general. So you're kind of learning along with them. Would you say that's an appropriate pitch for the show?
Yeah, I'm interested in a lot of what's going on politically in the world and have a little bit of a journalistic background, but I think that that if you're a professional comedian, then your entire job has been being a fucking moron forever. Probably not the best person to be talking down to people, even though it's fun when it comes to internet bullshit or whatever. But I think it's a misstep to try to pass yourself off as a wonk, and also I think that most people, there's an unspoken thing that a lot of us don't know what the fuck is going on. So
Totally.
if things are really easy, then they're much easier to consume. Otherwise, people tend to double down on stuff, and no one wants to admit how fucking dumb they are. So the premise for the show is often I'll be the first.
It's a good premise, and I mean, I personally try not to pretend I don't know things that I don't know. So the show's very honest. I recommend checking it out, especially if you want to be involved in anything going on or trying to keep up with anything.
It's got the greatest name of any podcast that exists.
Pod Damn America.
Absolutely.
So there's also a podcast called Pod Save America. Was there any animosity there for choosing the name?
Yeah, I mean, that was the joke. I tend to come up with joke names for shit and then have to follow through with them as projects if they end up taking off. And so, a light bulb went off one day and I went, oh, that'd be a funny name for a podcast because of the Reverend Wright speech. Goddamn America, and also just because they generally suck. But sometimes I feel like, wow, we pitched such an ambitious name that we're a little bit, in over our heads if we're literally offering our show as being like the alternative debunking of all their shit. But, it's just a leftist podcast. It was just a clever name that I thought was kind of funny that developed into this whole joke with skulls and gothic imagery and stuff. And, it's been pretty fun. I don't know. I'm having a good time with it.
Oh, yeah, man. I know Grant and I have also gone back and forth with the name of our show. We're like, do people know that we're
do they understand the satire?
Because a number of people have come at this and thinking it's one thing and then coming out calling us cucks or pussies or something like that. So,
quote, annoyingly liberal.
Or whatever. So it's like... what's in a name, as the old phrase goes. But Jake, I wanted you to, if you're able to recount the story, you describe yourself as Homeland Security's top comic to watch. Now, this is a kind of a wild story. If you'd be down to retread that territory.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you the elevator pitch. The other thing is I have one skill, and that's coming up with clever names that are a mishmash of two separate things, right? So the phrase Homeland Security's comics to watch is it's a joke on I'm a stand-up comic, and there's this this thing called Comedy Central's Comics to Watch that comes out every year that's like a big rite of passage if you're a fucking comedian, if you get, listed as like one of the comics to watch of these various articles that come out every year that grown adults treat like some sort of like, yearbook end of the year thing. Mm-hmm. And so I never get those. And so I thought, well, I've got there's one person watching me. It's the government, it's kind of a clever joke or whatever. But so what happened, and the reason that I have a government file and shit is that I got into a bunch of trouble with Homeland Security last year when I tweeted this joke that I was kind of kicking around that has since become like a bit. Like I write stand-up a lot of times by kicking premises around on Twitter. And,
totally.
But it was kind of a fucked up premise that I wanted to take in an extreme direction to sort of make a point, which was that, you're supposed to argue about this thing called cultural appropriation. This is, I guess, makes sense for the whole 2 minutes hate and all this shit on this podcast. But, one of the things you're supposed to get mad about on the internet is cultural appropriation. And you're supposed to, share these videos of, oh my God, this kid went to a Mexican restaurant and he put the hat on, the sombrero.
Right.
Thing. And I thought, I'm fucking Mexican. I'm from Texas. And, I think it's really funny because this information is just very white and Northeastern. And I think that people don't realize that, like, sombrero is a fun hat to wear. Everyone wears it. It's not the Native American headdress. It's not a fucking sacred thing. It's,
it's a hat.
It's a hat.
Mario wears it, for example.
Yeah. It's a hat you wear when you get drunk. You put it on a cactus. It looks like a person. It's funny.
That's a fun bit.
And so the whole kind of point I was trying to make was like, there's actual real shit going on in the world, and the internet conditions us to get mad at shit like this, and it's really fucking stupid. And so, the structure of the joke is like, hey, what if you got into an elevator and there was an ICE agent next to you and you were all high and you were looking at his gun, and you were doing that weird like Requiem for a Dream thing where you think about grabbing the guy's gun, and then what if you killed him, right? And etc. And it's just, oh my God, this crazy thing happened. Well, then you know what? I think that you should be allowed to wear a sombrero. I think, and it's like this back and forth kind of thing of like, what if you could do something so unracist that everyone just lets the kind of racist shit slide, and then it's a refillable bit. It's like it keeps going, and it's like, technically the more ICE agents you killed, the more racist the shit you were allowed to get away with would get. And so it's just this big long thing where eventually it's like, yeah, you can wear a fucking Looney Tunes copyright infringement t-shirt with the Old English font on it that's got the 2 years your cousin was born and the year he died, and the Tweety Bird's got a fucking Tupac headband on and shit, and it's like, normally that would be pretty racist, but if you were out in the world actually, making material change happen, I don't think anyone would give a shit. And it just goes on and on and on like that. The more I've thought about this, because I've had to tell this story and tell this joke a million times, I think it's similar to a Chappelle bit that I might have had kicking around in my head, where he does this bit about, like, he's like, what if there was a superhero and he raped people sometimes, but he saved more people than he raped? And so it's like you're kind of twisting the knife when you're telling the joke, because everyone's like really uncomfortable, and you're like, but he rapes, but he saves,
Right. But he does all these great things.
So that's kind of the bones of the joke. I just recorded it onto an album if you want to hear it in its, performed form with the fucking story that's now part of the bit around it. It'll be released on Stand Up Records sometime this year.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, we'll link to that if we can.
It's not going to be out for a while, but I'll just follow me online.
We'll retweet it when we can.
Cool.
Yeah. Thought Cop's a seal of approval. Retweet.
So I put this I was just beating this out on Twitter, and then it was on Cinco de Mayo, which is, why I was thinking about all this shit. And then, so I guess someone narked on me because the next day 4 Homeland Security agents came to my apartment, and, I live in this crazy loft that doesn't have a peephole. So I just opened the door. I'm all hungover, and I thought they were the repair guy, and, they have their badges out and shit. And
jeez,
we have this crazy, intense, weird conversation, and I just, I'm a reckless person because I don't really have anything. I'm just a comedian living out of a fucking suitcase, so I don't really care. So, I had this kind of candid conversation with them about, where I was coming from and what the nature of a joke is and all this shit. And they, eventually left, but they told me that, they'll be following me and, yada, yada, yada. And so now I just, I'm just one of these people that's aware that there's a government file on me somewhere. But I don't really know, if they have any intention of following up. I'm knocking on wood every time I say this, but I think they just forgot about me. I mean, there just seems like there's a million more things happening,
I mean, you might have got a few new fans, though, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, and I absolutely capitalized on this for my career because, fuck them. And also,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story. And I was able to glean some stuff out of it that I thought, hey, if I can... if I can finagle my way onto some famous fucking podcasts and TV shows and stuff to talk about this, I can sneak in the other shit that is kind of interesting, which is, to me, the most important part of this, politically, was, at one point, the guy asked, he has, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, yeah, why, from your perspective, why is ICE a good thing? Why are you here on behalf of this fucking organization that, to me, it seems to just be, from its inception, bad, like a terrorist organization, And so then he explained his point of view, and I kind of called bullshit on it, but it's really interesting, if you want to know your enemy, it's that they kind of use this specter of human trafficking to justify why ICE needs to be doing all these crazy things that they're doing or whatever. And so that's really interesting because then you learn, that's how they sell it to Republicans and that's how they get people to vote for this. But if you look into it, it's a fucking distraction. It's bullshit. This organization isn't about human trafficking. That's just how they sell it. And so it's interesting because there's a through line there with the rest of the whole police state. They sort of allude to this weird boogeyman all the fucking time whenever they want to pass something that's, secretly about white supremacy or, in the case of the Sesta Fosta bill that gets all these sex workers killed, what do they tell you? Oh, it's fighting human trafficking, right? Well, no, a bunch of Christian organizations funded this bill because they want to police women's bodies. It's the same thing. So there's this interesting through line, and it's it's a dog whistle that, I think we need to look out for anytime they're trying to pull some bullshit on us is they're going to allude to, the seedy world of human trafficking, which exists. It totally exists. But the important thing about all this is that the ICE doesn't fight human trafficking. They just use it as a fucking reason to keep funding them.
I mean, that's a totally unique experience. I mean, I know people are arguing about this on Twitter 24/7, but to actually one-on-one, face-to-face at your front door have a discussion about this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and that's the part of the story that I feel good traveling around telling because there's something to learn from it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then also, they absolutely made my career. Fuck them. I mean, there's
lemons on a lemonade. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you not fucking get yours out of this? And then I mean, also. This fucking system I'm working in isn't fair to begin with. It's not a fucking meritocracy. So, this is really not that different from, if you did some fucked up shit and got booked on something that, is art. Art is not a meritocracy. So, I consider myself very lucky, but, it's not that this wasn't a career cheat. It's that the only way to get advanced, to get forward in stand-up is to find yourself a career cheat. Every single thing that advances everyone is, something kind of shady.
A lot of times people go forward just like their YouTube channel gets canned or they get banned from Twitter or something like that, and it's like sometimes it has the effect of like bringing people's careers forward. Sometimes it sets people back. Like it depends, but
I mean, I think that's why there's so many reactionary people too. Is it's like if they do one bad thing and that gets them taken down, and they kind of have to triple down on that annoying opinion because it's like, this is why I'm popular, you know?
Yeah, it depends on a number of things. But.
Totally. Well, hey, thanks for sharing the story, man. That's a wild one.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, that's actually outside of like interacting with you a couple of times on Twitter. I think the first time I started like following you more was when you were on Sam Cedar's show. So.
Yeah,
totally,
the jury report. Yeah, great show. Him, Michael Brooks, Jamie Peck, the Antifada, all those people on that whole tree over there are awesome.
Yeah, and to be fair, I started listening to the Majority Report after Mike Cernovich got Sam Cedar fired from MSNBC. So like,
there you go.
It really does. It can have that effect, you know.
Yeah, well, sometimes this stuff is more interesting than just, you know, the meta stuff around a lot of our careers is a story that's worth telling in itself, not just the content of the shit you're writing or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we're still waiting for our big break for somebody to want to kill us.
I'm waiting for someone to fire me from my job.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't been doxxed yet, so get on that. We got some show news here. Of course, Grant plugged the Patreon earlier, patreon.com/thoughtcops. We have different tiers. We have the $10 tier if you donate $10 a month. If you feel so kind, no pressure, but we will get you a personalized episode every single month, topic of your choice, a mini episode. Wanted to plug one of our patrons, Yosef, is making me, he's making me talk about why anime sucks and why it should be destroyed. And I'm gonna be honest. I of course I'm a fan of anime. I'll say it.
We have too many.
Fuck it, I'll say it.
We have too many anime stands in our Discord, and it's starting to get to me.
Yeah, I would say 80% of the discussion is about like
all these shows I've never fucking heard of and will never watch.
You gotta watch Mob Psycho, man. But anyway, he's making me do this, and I'm gonna be honest because it's not perfect. It has its issues, and we'll go over that. So if you want to make me do something else I don't want to do, donate $10 at patreon.com/thoughtcops. Or if you want to make Grant talk about
whatever I talk about.
What's something you don't want to talk about? You give him a choice.
I'll talk about anything.
All right, well,
pay me $10. I'll talk about anything.
You want to really get under this guy's skin. It's worth it. It's worth your money.
Yeah.
I was also on another podcast this week, which probably should be coming out around the time this episode drops. My friend Brandon Kirkman, another Chicago comedian, hosts a podcast called Podzuki, where they watch a kaiju movie every week. This week, I got to look up the name of the movie. I keep forgetting it. It was called Varen the Unbelievable. Kaiju black and white movie from the 50s. Big monster movie, kind of like off the Godzilla craze. And then we just licked some batteries, did some prank calls.
As you do on a podcast.
Yeah, it's just typical podcast bits,
Jake, do you have any batteries in your hotel that you're staying at?
You guys don't lick batteries on your show?
I actually have some batteries because I'm using some very shitty podcasting equipment on the road. Am I supposed to lick them? What is this?
Well, this show I was on has a bit where you can... the challenge is to lick a 9-volt battery and talk about the movie. I didn't question it. I licked the battery and
all right.
We had some fun. But yeah, that'll be out soon. Grant and I were also on another podcast that'll probably be coming out around the time this comes out. A new podcast called the Rock Bottom Cast.
Yeah, we'll link to all of these as soon as they come out.
Or follow us on Twitter at Real Thought Cops if you don't already. All the information is there. So, without further ado, let's get to that very famous segment of the show, 2 Minutes of Hate.
Yeah.
Blanket punishing any annoying online, irritating trends we see every day, the things you see when you scroll online, the things that get under your skin. Grant, would you like to begin?
Yeah, I'll start because you said that yours was bad.
Thank you for revealing that on the show. I appreciate that.
I'm not exactly sure how to... I don't think I'm using the right terminology for whatever this trend is or whatever you want to call it. But
just be honest.
Reactionary political stances that are just pure reaction without any sort of context.
Are you referring to something from earlier today?
Yeah.
Without getting too specific.
I don't know if it's reactionary or like reactional, but someone posted a status about like the Great Barrier Reef's dying and Australia just allowed like 1 million pounds of trash into the ocean or something along those lines.
Some insane amount of trash, basically.
Yeah. And this one guy was arguing with the guy that posted it, and his response was like, to the article, it was like, yeah, I care about the environment, but I just think that people posting about things is annoying.
So he said to double down on this, we should destroy the Great Barrier Reef to piss people off who are...
To piss off environmentalists, because environmentalists are so irritating that we should just torch the Great Barrier Reef and torch all... Just because fuck them.
Good luck, it's under the freaking ocean!
Jake, do you ever run into like these types of people that just like... They don't even disagree with you, but just because of like whatever you perceive yourself as politically, like they just go, fuck it. Like just because you're irritating or a certain point of view is irritating, like I'm against you.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of hard to like decipher where a lot of the people that are mad at me are even coming from a lot of the times.
Fair enough.
Sometimes they very much are yelling, I agree with you, but, and you kind of go, you know, what's really going on here? And well,
totally.
Most of them you just, I guess, ignore because there's so many of them, but like sometimes I'll just stop and talk to somebody, and then after a while they're like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I just had a lot going on at home today, and then you just realize it's a human that's pushing their brain through the very strangely shaped thing called the internet, you know?
Yeah.
No, that's so true. I mean, like, that's kind of how the interaction went down, which is like, honestly, and I've said this before, if you just humanize somebody and don't get angry, just don't get mad online. You know, you might just find that the results may be positive, but to be fair, that's a little bit rare. So,
yeah, it's just this mindset of like the actual issues themselves don't matter. It's the reaction to the reaction of the issues that matters. I remember like a couple weeks ago, I saw a tweet that was like, I think it was around the time of New Year's Eve, and someone was saying like all these like obviously people don't like drunk driving, but all these PSAs are just virtue signaling. And it's like, is the virtue signaling worse than the drunk driving?
And some people are like, I'm going to drunk drive because just to piss people off. It's like to cut off your nose to spite your face. If the old, I don't know if I'm using that right.
Getting in a car crash to own the libs. Like seriously.
Wrap your car, run a fucking pole to trigger somebody.
Yeah.
Cutting off your nose to own the libs. As the old saying goes.
That old phrase, that old turn of phrase.
I knew that Voldemort would find his way into this podcast.
Oh, Grant, how would you punish these?
I don't know. Catapult. Whatever.
All right. It's been a while since we've had a nice, just classic catapult punishment.
Yeah, if you engage in this type of behavior, just
right over the fence of whatever.
Don't get stuck on the spiky part.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Jake, did you have a 2 minutes of hate this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a weird one last night, and it was a little jarring, but you know, it'll be not a thing in a few days, I'm sure. But I had this weird one where so there's this comedian Brody Stevens who is, you know, a beloved comedian who died by his own hand and was famously, you know, openly mentally ill and all these things. And I didn't know him particularly well. The only interaction I ever had with him is that he called me a filthy, unwashed anti-fascist. And so someone died, and so a lot of people are going through and processing it in a lot of weird different ways. And you know, when a comedian dies, someone in the quote-unquote comedy community, everyone just kind of says something, you know. Goes in a circle and you say something about it. And so, you know, most people's reaction is to go, I opened for Brody once and he was amazing, or I met him one time at fucking Whataburger or something, and like you know, how big or small your experience with the person is can tend to piss a lot of other people off. And so, you know, whenever this happens, a lot of people, like, my DMs fill up with screenshots of people going, look at this motherfucker. This person's making it about themselves, you know. They never met Brody, or, you know, or someone is, like, really close to the person, etc. And I just had a really weird one because I've never had this happen, but, you know, the last thing that we said to each other was some mean shit to each other, and I was like, this is, like, making me feel strange, you know?
Sure, yeah.
And so I kind of tweeted a thing about it where I was like, I don't know what to do with this. This is really conflicting because I feel a lot of empathy for him. But also, you know, the last thing he called me was this thing that he meant to be mean, but is also true. And I don't think it's a, you know, bad thing or whatever. And then I just said, hey, you know, fucking check on your friends, etc. Like, that's what I'm getting out of this. And for some reason, this caused tons of people to send screenshots to each other and to send them to Nick Mullen. And then he texted me, like, what the fuck?
Of course. The clown prince of the alt-right chimes in.
Yeah, and so then you find yourself in this ironic situation where Nick fucking Mullen is advising me not to put something on the internet.
Did he really say that?
No, I guess he texted me. We got into kind of a fight with each other, and he goes, you know, I didn't advise you not to put that up. I just said it's a bad take. And I was like, whoa, sorry. You know, I guess I got that part wrong or whatever. But, you know, but it's like ironic because it's like you of all people are like, hey, you know, don't be mean on the internet. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you know? And,
right.
But then it occurred to me, you know, really, I got into all this shit. All these people are tweeting at me like I should kill myself and all this stuff, and a lot of other people are going,
Jesus Christ, yeah, that's...
You know? So I went and I tried to explain it, and I said, you know, like, listen, I'm not going to... Nothing good comes from deleting your tweet and going, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. It's like something and it's then you're just fucking throwing yourself to the wolves, you know? And so I sort of did a thread explaining, you know, hey, like, grieving is weird, and, you know, if you're mad at somebody for making this about themselves, which is absolutely what I was doing, you know, you've never been to a funeral before because that's what the person's dead, you know, like the thing where you talk about the person is absolutely making it about yourself. That's for your brain to process, you know, the death or whatever. And that's sort of where I was coming from with all this. And, you know, with Nick and with all these people who were tweeting at me and all these horrible things that were being said, I started to get real mad for a minute. Like, it started to really bother me. And then I realized, like, oh, this is also how they're dealing with this. And that's how fucked up death is. And, like, I had a guy, you know, some Cumtown fan or something, whose name was, like, Ding Dong Baseball or some weird shit.
That sounds about right.
He DM'd me and he was like, hey, fuck you, man. And he goes, fuck you, Brody was my hero. And I, you know, wrote back to him. I said, yeah, I'm sorry. You know, I feel weird about it too. And I feel bad about it. I'm sorry this happened. And then he went, I'm sorry too. And then I went, hey, you know, if you want to talk about it, I'm here, you know. And he was like, I'm sorry I got mad at you. I just don't know how to deal with this. And I was like, Ding Dong Baseball, man, like, it's going to be okay.
You're all right, Ding Dong.
Yeah. And then we had this weird interaction where, like, yeah, we were both just very honest about what was going on. And then he was like, sorry. And I was like, yeah, people are not actually mad at you. You know, they're just... And this is all, honestly, an interesting microcosm of, you know, how people distort their sense of self and feelings through Twitter to begin with. This is just an extreme example of it. But, I mean, that's what I got out of that is, like, you know, they're just mad at themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, like, yeah, like you said, the added filter of the internet with, like processing something very sincere, like, through a filter of irony poisoning is like, what the fuck, you know, there's got to be one or the other when it comes to, like, grieving over somebody's death. You can't just be ironic and whatever else, so some sardonic take of some kind.
And this is it's definitely one of those things where I feel like you said, sort of the rose-colored glasses or whatever, the internet sort of distorts things, because I feel like if you said what you said on Twitter in person to people, I don't think anybody would really take that much offense to it, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing about this is that it's like he's a comedian, and, like, a lot of times when, you know, our friends who are comedians die, the first reaction you have is to make a joke about it, because you're a comedian. Your fucking entire defense mechanism for everything is making jokes about shit, you know?
Yeah.
I thought, you know, what I said was, you know, I was trying to be a little honest to work through it, but also was it's kind of a funny fucking moment for me. I thought, there's a little bit of a joke there or whatever. And then the other thing is like, it's fucking weird because I didn't know every comedian I know was, felt really strongly about Brody Stevens until yesterday. And it's weird because sometimes you go, well, are we in this thing called the comedy community? Like, are we all friends with each other? Because to me, he was like kind of an abstract person. I never hung out with him. And, if John McCain dies, you're not like, don't you speak ill of the dead. Well, if you're sane, you don't do that because he's the abstract person,
Yeah.
But then, and if your friend dies, then it's like, yeah, absolutely. Talk about your friend like they're your friend. But when you're trying to get famous and you're part of this like kind of made up community that isn't really, there's no sign up sheet. Like, no, we're all just imagining we're kind of friends with each other. You go, well, how's that work? There's kind of this middle ground where like you have a relationship with artists, I mean, you might not ever meet a musician, but you have a relationship with them through their music. And so if they die, it's understandable that you would get kind of fucked up about it. But then it's like, we all made fun of everybody for being a carelord over David Bowie and shit. And, where's the line? Where's the consistency? Where's the inconsistency? And I kind of thought like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit because a bunch of people who would make fun of you for getting really sad about Prince are suddenly like, this guy none of us have ever met is sacred. But I think the litmus test for this is fucking Nick is clearly fucked up about it, and he's a sociopath. So I guess we do feel something for each other in this weird quote unquote comedy community.
For sure, man. I mean, yeah, you work around the same people, for long enough, it's bound to happen. But if you could punish, I know this is sort of a weird. I mean, we're getting sincere. Now it's like, now time to punish somebody.
No, for the irony portion.
Yeah.
No, let's do it.
What would the punishment be? Do you have anything in mind, Jake?
The people that I'm pissed off at.
Yeah.
I guess. It would have to be some weird like philosophical kind of turning it around on them, like you walk into the punishment chamber and then there's just a mirror.
Yes.
You have to stare at yourself and think about your dumb life. Or I don't know. Is there like a reverse MS-13 we can do to people to get them like, or MS-13, MK Ultra? That was the weirdest Freudian slip. Like a reverse MK Ultra we can do to people to like de-internet them or something.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Just to the ultimate cure for irony poisoning. Yeah, just the reverse MK
Log
Ultra.
off.
Yeah. Perpetual log off.
Yeah, that's what I think is the proper punishment for this.
That seems fair. And it is done. So let's move on to the my own 2 minutes of hate that Grant is hyped up by saying that it sucks.
Yeah, go ahead.
When people post online the Twitter comedy format, me, also me.
And then it's like a SpongeBob meme.
Basically, yeah. I know, but now we're like, okay, you guys brought in some heavy stuff. Here's mine. I hate when people have fucking dichotomy to their personality. It's like, you got one, it's me. I need to socialize more. Also me. I think I might just stay in and watch Netflix.
Christ. Everybody's so fucking interesting.
Right. It just... I see something like that. And I'm like, this person's got layers. That's something else. So I'll keep it quick here. If you post this, me, also me, you got to pick one of those two, man. You can't be two things at once. Just say me. Here I am, world. This is me. And, I want to go out and make friends, and I'm not going to make excuses and say that I'm going to stay in and watch Netflix. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to show the world who I am and what I'm capable of. So yeah, this is a lot more motivational than I intended, but that's my sometimes punishments are meant to push you out of your comfort zone. So there you go.
Hey, sometimes you just need to clean your room.
Oh yeah,
you could say, yeah. You could say.
I think I might write a book about cleaning your room.
What would you call it?
Room.
10 ways to clean your room. Working title.
Okay, yeah, that's a working title. I'll look forward to hear what the finished project will be.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the whole the main segment here. So if you haven't listened to Thought Cops, every week we investigate the internet's outrage-inducing news stories, and then we sentence and perpetrate each punishment, or we person to a cruel and unusual punishment. Slip of the tongue there. Let's begin. So
let's get back into the dark territory and talk about the Jussie Smollett. Is that how you say his name?
I think so.
Am I saying it correctly?
Now, this is a local story. You know, we're here in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing when this happened was probably one of the coldest weeks on record in quite some time.
Yeah. This was literally polar vortex week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When it happened.
I don't know if it's all worth retreading. So, long story short,
I think most people, I didn't really go out of my way to read about it, but I feel filled in with it. Jake, did you follow this at all? Really?
Yeah, I probably got a pretty common person's understanding of the story. I heard it about the attack, quote unquote, when it happened, and then I sort of saw on the news right when it came out that the Chicago police are saying that they think that this is a staged attack, and my first reaction was well, I don't believe, especially the Chicago Police Department. I mean, they have a pretty shitty record, but the more Jussie Smollett doesn't really chime in about this, it kind of seems this might have been bullshit. I don't know. My initial reaction to this was to not say anything unless I could think of something really funny. There's
right.
There's a line,
and we're still trying.
If it's funny enough, then I'll make a joke about it. But the funniest shit has been coming from queer black comedians on my feed about it. Who just have, obviously a better take on it than I. But that being said, if I could think of a really good one, then I'll throw up my hat in the ring.
So it's one of those. A lot of people are upset that obviously just not a good look if what they're saying is true. To fake something that's obviously very serious.
And it's somewhat similar, but in a way diametrically opposed to
that'll turn a phrase, huh?
To the kid with the MAGA hat with the Native American guy that we talked about a couple weeks ago, where it was that wasn't faked. It was just sort of that nothing happened, and there was this big overblown news story about it, and it's almost like the story is individual of the context itself, the context and the shaping of the story, and the fact that there's so much political tension among everybody is more the story than what actually happened, which is either a guy played a drum and another guy looked at him, or a guy got he wasn't beat up, but he was harassed or something like that. I don't remember the original story, but it ended up being nothing, and the whole backstory of the story is in and of itself more important than what actually happened, right? Well, which was nothing.
Allegedly, too. I guess he had hired some people he knew to do it too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I've seen a lot of people.
Everything here is alleged. I don't know anything about what happened.
To quote, like you said, another black comedian I saw online was a funny meme was a list of shapes: polygon, pterygon, career gone, and it was a picture of Jussie Smollett.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So not my own, but you can imagine it in your head. So yeah,
you could have retweeted it.
I guess I could have. I guess I could still do it, but. Anyway, about this, I don't know.
It does just suck to see how people are very willing to take advantage of, like I said, the all of the hate that's sort of brewed the past 4 years, and just capitalize on that for their own personal gain.
Yeah, I feel if I knew Jussie Smollett personally, I'd probably give him shit about this. But if you're doing it online, it's just going to get sort of mixed in with a bunch of people that are actually racist and shit.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, what the fuck happened to this person to cause them to do that to begin with? If they did fake it, their life sounds pretty fucked up. I don't know. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's just so weird, you know. Hiring like actors and then it falling apart. It's very like Larry David, you know.
Yeah, totally. Bum bum bum.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this story at all.
Actually, I got one. This is Larry David will bring him on Curb next season. Sort of a retribution of some kind. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. Nope. I just thought of something really fucked up.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Curb stomp your enthusiasm. All right.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
If we titled the episodes,
That's good.
All right, moving on.
All right, let's move on to something that's maybe a little more something different. Why don't we talk about this John Wayne thing?
Yeah, John Wayne canceled. You heard it here first, or probably not. You probably heard it here fifth.
I kind of missed this. My vague understanding is that someone played like an interview with him from like 40 years ago, and then internet filter was applied to it.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, he was saying something along the line, like he's like some white supremacist stuff, and then saying that being gay was an abomination, yada yada yada.
Which, like, if you know anything about John, like any comedian that's ever done a joke about John Wayne has always referenced how racist he was towards like the Native Americans that he would shoot shots with and stuff like that. Like, he was a bad guy, and most people who knew about him knew that.
Another bad guy was John Wayne Gacy, and
he's also canceled.
Yeah, he's canceled. I'm going to stand on that.
Chicago name.
Yeah. So,
a lot of bad people coming from Chicago.
Ooh, we're coming. So the other aspect to this story is that people are attacking the John Wayne Airport in Orange County.
The airport?
Yeah, they're saying they should take. They're like, there's a harassment campaign against the airport. Yeah, say change the name to something else.
Oh, okay.
Because those flights are all canceled.
I thought you meant they were just mad, like throwing Molotov cocktails at the airport.
That's exactly what I thought when I first read it. Then I was, to be honest, slightly disappointed when I learned that wasn't the case.
Well, it would make sense given that the beginning of this story is completely like misaligned. Like, I thought we were all under the assumption that John Wayne was probably racist. He's like the symbol of like American individualistic Reagan cowboy shit. I'm curious about who saw this and was like gasp, and clutched their pearls and went, I thought he was, my woke hero.
Right.
Seems like it just sort of trended on Twitter and people just got upset about it, but I don't know what exactly set it off. It just says that
he got doxxed, bro.
Yeah, that a rediscovered 1971 interview with Playboy sort of resurfaced, but it's like I don't even understand this, because it's like, this is not it's one of those things where it's like we constantly talk about on this show how people dig up other people's histories, and how Kevin Hart, for instance, had bad homophobic jokes from 10 years ago on his Twitter, and that's what caused him to not host the Oscars. And it's like, it's getting to the point where we're running out of people's dirty laundry to air, so we're literally going into the past of dead people to just like dredge shit up.
Gotta be mad about something, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, it's like if this happened today, it would be a big issue, but
like they can't get him canceled from the movie that he's in, so they're gonna throw Molotov cocktails at his airport.
People are boycotting his old movies, like I think playing them on TV and stuff like that.
It's weird because the past is racist. Like, I'll kind of understand the whole point of progress is that we're going to try to make the future the less racist part or whatever. Yeah. But I guess the really funny thing about this is, we're jokingly saying, he's canceled or whatever, but yeah, people are applying this mechanism of cancel culture that never really had a very clearly stated purpose, and now it's like absurd that you would then try to apply it to a dead person, because what is the point of canceling them? I think originally the point of canceling someone was that it was supposed to be some sort of punitive measure, like if they're getting away with something by making a lot of money and being very famous and successful, then we go,
exactly.
well, we're gonna edit that and make it to where this person is no longer in power in our society or whatever, and fuck with their money and their career and stuff. But he's like, this is insane. Like, why you can't do that to a dead person. He doesn't care. It won't affect him at all. And it won't. It's also like when you think about like the concept of like punishment and like prisons and stuff like that and punitive systems. It's like, is it for rehabilitation, or is it for
just taking anger out on
you to feel good about yourself or whatever, and to rile up a mob? And it's like, you can't rehabilitate a fucking corpse, so this is insane.
And it's weird that John Wayne, of all people, like, I can't tell you a single person that's like, oh, my favorite movie is fucking a John Wayne movie.
Couldn't even think of one.
I can't think of one. Not a single person, not even any old people in my family. Like, nobody has any sort of reverence for the guy. It's
my uncle. My uncle used to live with us when I was younger.
Yeah,
and he loved John Wayne, and he loved him so much that he had this big cardboard cutout of John Wayne, like 6 feet tall. And he set it up in our living room, which we were, I guess, okay with. And one night he comes home late, and he walks in the house, and it's dark, and he thinks that the John Wayne is a person, and he runs in and tackles into the ground. And it's a fucking John Wayne cardboard cutout that he put there.
Oh, shit, that rules.
So yeah, that's the John Wayne fan base we're talking about here.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like, this is going to be a more extreme example, but like that guy Jimmy Savile that was like from the BBC. He was sort of the British Dick Clark, more or less. When he died, it was like, oh, it turned out that he was one of the most like prolific pedophiles that's ever existed in any media. And to sort of go back and say, hey, we're not playing any more of his stuff because he's this big time pedophile. Like, I get that as a punitive measure because it's like, we don't want to associate with that anymore. But to dredge up John Wayne is like, what's the point?
Well, everyone grieves differently. I'm still pretty fucked up about John Wayne, which is why I'm so angry at him. But it's because I love him.
Pretty upset about this John Wayne Gacy guy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So
I'm still mourning Al Jolson, but unfortunately he's canceled.
Who?
Al Jolson, the blackface guy.
Oh, gotcha. I bet John Wayne is probably all about, whatever. I don't know. So let's wrap this up here. John Wayne, bring him back to life, and your punishment is you gotta stay at standby at your freaking airport that's named after you, and flights are canceled.
TSA feel you up.
There you go. Well, no. Who gives a shit? Moving on.
What time are we at? We can do like one more, I think.
All right, let's get to one other story here. So apparently, YouTube is a sinking ship.
Sure, yeah.
If you go into YouTube content creation in 2019 hoping to make a living, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, it's not 2011 anymore.
Yeah. So YouTube has now demonetized videos if they have inappropriate comments. And Jake, I don't know if you've ever read the YouTube comments on just about any video, but they're pretty atrocious.
Oh yeah, you can get into like an argument about nationalism somehow on like a Dora the Explorer video.
Yeah.
It's insane. Bad place.
So yeah, Dora the Explorer could be demonetized for the very same reason. And I guess their logic is that it's too much work for even their bots to manage. So they're saying it's up to the YouTube creators to modify or moderate their comment sections in all their videos. Which, I mean, if you're like us, it's very easy because we get very few comments in our YouTube channel. So
yeah, that sounds like the death rattle of YouTube then. I mean, it seems like it was kind of like fueled by that sort of thing. So if you're to implement that rule, then yeah, the one thing that everyone's making videos for, monetization, is gonna have to go away. That seems like is YouTube okay? Like, that seems like a weird choice on their part.
Yeah, it's the advertisers. I know we were talking about this a little bit last night, but a lot of advertisers like Disney and whatever else who,
these like old money, fucking old media, corporate conglomerations that control, like Disney, like half of all of the media that exists, go, oh, there's one bit, like Jake Paul exists on YouTube, so we're not going to advertise anymore until this gets taken down or this gets taken down. And it's like, you guys are getting people addicted to opioids with your fucking commercials that you air on fucking ABC, and just like the drug commercials and shit like that. Like, they're not so fucking innocent themselves with the type of shit they like, the way they conduct themselves, but they look at one thing on YouTube and they go, oh, we got, you guys got to clamp down on this behavior,
Yes.
And it's like, this all started over this weird story of like, this mother put up a video of her son's gymnastic videos, and someone flagged it as being like endangering to minors because it's like someone could look at it and think that it's like sexually suggestive.
Yeah, so this totally normal guy was time stamping every instance in which each frame was potentially suggestive of the child doing gymnastics.
Yeah.
Totally normal guy.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So because of reasons like this, yeah, they're saying that videos that have inappropriate comments, which is 99.9% of them, will be demonetized. So, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, last shrieking cry of YouTube, I believe.
I never really fucked with YouTube, oddly. You can sort of become obsessed with a handful of the various apps at one time, and like, I just threw my brain into Twitter and podcasting and stuff like that. But I guess this sucks for people who love YouTube. It seemed like there was cool shit you could do with it, but it also seems like for some reason all the leftists or podcasters and all the YouTube is home to a lot of right-wing bullshit. So like,
that's a fairly like accurate that sounds pretty on point, yeah.
Now, Zwick in the chat here says television has less ad censorship than YouTube by a country mile.
As opposed to one of these city miles, which is different.
Yeah, you mentioned also like the moral questionability of all like the advertisers themselves. Like, did you see the fucking like, it might have been Purdue or one of the pharma companies had this like thing where they sent a like a mascot that's just a fentanyl spray to like some fucking place.
Oh my god!
It's like it looks like Towley from South Park, but it's like,
hey kids,
Fenty, I'm here to promote fentanyl spray or whatever. Yeah,
Jesus Christ,
they're the most evil people on earth. So if they're mad about inappropriate comments, it can only be that it's because it's going to affect their bottom line in some way, because someone could then like sue them or something. It's not as though they care about trying to make YouTube a better place.
Yeah, no, and like the thing that I think is going to happen is I don't think YouTube is what did you say at the top of this, that it's a sinking ship? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a sinking ship. I just think that like smaller creators are just getting the shaft, and I think that like Jimmy Kimmel's just going to be trending more.
I love that carpool karaoke, baby.
I don't think that's him.
I don't give a shit.
Like all of these old channels, as they try and become more relevant to like the youth of America, which they're not. People just want to watch the H3H3 podcast or whatever.
Whatever kids like these days.
Yeah, whatever kids watch these days.
I want to watch my favorite celebrities eat hot wings for some reason.
Exactly. But that, I mean, to be fair, an episode of Hot Ones probably gets way more viewers than your primetime ABC slot,
True.
And it's one of those things where I don't see YouTube going away because it's owned by Google and Google's too big. But like, I just see the barriers to entry just getting higher and higher, and just normal everyday people who just sort of hit gold, I just see them not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, I think it's going to become like Facebook, where people are going to be like, yeah, Facebook is not cool anymore to use. But I mean, some of us still use it sometimes, but it's not like what it was, 10 years ago, for example.
Yeah.
And what, Google owns Facebook, right?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah.
That'd be terrifying. That's like...
Yeah. What, was it Disney?
Like a fucking cyberpunk district,
right.
A cyberpunk book where like everything's owned by one company that just like owns the U.S. government. Looking at you, Jeff Bezos.
So here we go.
Who owns the libs?
Who watches the Watchmen? Who owns the Watchmen?
Who Googles the Googlers?
Right. So to punish these folks here, I mean, obviously, if you were a YouTuber, I guess the smart decision would be to disable the comment section.
Yeah.
But what's like a real life comment section? I don't know. People. I'm trying to think of a good parallel here to throw in the mix.
One of those Roman vomitoriums or something.
Yeah, get that in there. I'm sure YouTube HQ has something like that. So
they can build one. They have enough money.
Right.
We just bring that back.
Yeah, I'm all in. So let's move on here. Thought Cop's Key to the City. This goes to the do-gooder of the week. Get the key to Neo Chicago, our own little cyberpunk district here. Grant, did you want to hand this out?
Yeah, Key to the City this week goes to Bernie Sanders, who he's bringing back politics, and it's good again. Awoo.
Awoo.
Awoo indeed.
It's a wolf howl, if anybody doesn't know.
I thought that was, I don't know, got nothing. Hey, we got a Thought Cop's Word of the Week this week. Didn't have one before. Now I got one, thanks to Jake, brought it up in context here. This Thought Cop's Word of the Week is carelord. This would be the opposite of an edgelord. This is somebody who cares too much about other people's business.
Oh, yeah. Awoo.
Awoo indeed. Jake, before we get to the...
what's known as a carewolf, which is when you turn into a person who cares about shit too much once a month in the full moon.
Oh, man. Watch out for that. Jake, before we get to some voicemails and wrap up the episode here, where can we find you online and the show?
So my podcast is Pod Damn America. It's a gothic socialist podcast for idiots. My handle on everything is Feral Jokes, Feral Jokes. It's an anagram for my name. That's pretty much where you'll find everything. And if you're old and you want to look at my website for tour dates, there's a website. It's called feraljokes.com. But I just pin everything to my tweets and promote everything on social media. I tour a lot, so if you want to come see a show, I will be on the road a lot this year.
Awesome.
Coming to Chicago anytime soon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to.
I'll be there later this year.
Cool. Keep an eye out.
That'll be cool.
Well, let's get to those voicemails.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right.
cops.
Oh, no.
And you should punish the person in this.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
This past weekend, I was driving from the airport, or my boyfriend was driving from the airport to pick me up from O'Hare, and it was snowing super bad. And we pulled to the side of the road because he has to pee. And of course we get stuck because it's snowing like crazy. So we called on emergency because we thought maybe we can get a tow truck, and they sent a cop. But the cop just called a tow. And the tow guy was cool. He cut us a deal because we were short money. Then the cop gives him a fucking ticket for like $200-something and like 4 points off his license because of unsafe driving in dangerous weather or something. I'm like, dude, how is putting on the side of the road fucking unsafe driving? That's like trying to avoid it. And I need to like just say like, what was the point of even calling the cops in this situation? We should have just called a fucking tow. So yeah, cops, you should go arrest real cops because you guys do more good than regular cops because they are bitches.
They are bitches. That sucks.
I guess blue lives don't matter.
Apparently not. That sucks though, man. I didn't know that reckless driving because you have to pick somebody up from the airport in the snowstorm. The fuck?
I guess.
That sucks.
I think I kind of missed a little bit of that. What exactly happened with this cop?
So her boyfriend was picking her up from the airport in a snowstorm. He had to pull to the side of the road because the weather was bad. They called the non-emergency number because they didn't have a tow truck number. A cop showed up, then called them a tow truck, and then gave them a ticket for reckless driving.
Sucks. God damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe the whole Jussie Smollett story isn't real after all. Maybe Maybe he actually was attacked. Maybe the Chicago cops are full of shit.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
There's some of the worst cops in the country, so like I have a hard time believing their case because it sounds like some shit they would do to just go like, yeah, he lied about everything.
We're going to need to fine him $2 million to help pay for our pensions because we can't balance our budget.
And he's being like, the way they're framing the Jussie Smollett story now is he's being being charged as the suspect in his own assault. It's like he didn't assault himself. It didn't happen. Just throw it out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the voicemail yet again about traffic. Tends to leave voicemails probably while driving, probably without a hands-free headset. I don't know. We got one other voicemail here.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play this.
Hey, Thought Cops, IoNetrunner here, and this week my 2 minutes of hate is podcasts telling me where I can find them. Chances are, if I'm listening to your podcast to hear you say these words, I know where to find your podcast. I don't need you to tell me that it's on Google Play and iTunes and Spotify and what other garbage apps are out there that have podcasts, which are just a fucking MP3 file on an RSS feed, and you'll need all these fucking stupid stores other than to get ratings so you know how dumb your podcast is doing. Jerk off, 5-star, whatever. I fucking hate it, and you're wasting like a minute of my day telling me where to get the thing I'm listening to. You stupid fucking idiot. Love the show, guys. Bye-bye. Oh, and don't do that thing where you do the thing I say I hate, because I hate that too.
It's too late because I actually did plug our Twitter on this episode.
I heard this voicemail earlier, and I was thinking that the whole time you were talking about that.
Yeah. Typically, I don't listen to these beforehand, so whoopsie daisy. I won't do that thing again that he didn't like. How
it's
about
not
that?
a real podcast unless you're plugging your podcast all the time, constantly.
Right. It's called networking, baby.
I agree with that person. I always feel dumb when I'm doing it. But I feel dumb for that reason, because I'm like, you guys fucking know, right?
Yeah.
But then it seems like there's like one person who actually needs that. Everyone is as dumb as the dumbest listener on the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to do it either. Like, Google is very easy to use,
Yeah, we will get comments every once in a while that are like, hey, I can't find this on Stitcher. Where is it? And it's like, oh, we don't have it on Stitcher. So then I have to make an announcement. Hey, find us on Stitcher. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It sucks, but it's one of those necessary evils, On
that very same note, let's end on one last thing here. A 5-star review.
Oh, yeah.
So if you rate us on iTunes 5 stars, we will read your review on the show. Please do so. It does help us get exposure to new audiences, and we really appreciate it. So without further ado.
This is by TyTy320. It's titled Flagged for Sexually Explicit Content. He said, I want to make sweet, sweet love to Grant's voice and make babies with it. So
how do you feel about that?
Uncomfortable. Leave your own 5-star review on iTunes, like we said. Stitcher, Google Play, all of those.
Yeah. Review them up, man. Jake, thanks again for coming on the show. Everybody
so
check
much.
out Pod Damn America, Feral Jokes on Twitter.
Me.
Cool, man. Well, let's wrap it up here. Thanks for everybody for listening. This has been yet another episode of Thought Cops, which you can find. No, just kidding. Thanks, everybody. Later.